In the spring of 1975, two young programmers made a decision that would reshape the entire technology landscape. Bill Gates, just 19 years old, and Paul Allen, 22, founded a small software company in Albuquerque, New Mexico. They called it Microsoft, a portmanteau of microcomputer and software. Neither could have imagined that their modest startup would evolve into one of the world's most valuable corporations, fundamentally changing how we work, communicate, and live. The story of Microsoft is more than just a corporate success story. It's the story of the personal computer revolution and the birth of the software industry, and now the transformation of how businesses store, process, and analyze data in the cloud era. From writing code for early microcomputers to building massive data centers that power artificial intelligence, Microsoft's journey spans 5 decades of technological evolution. The mid-1970s were an exciting time for technology enthusiasts. While IBM dominated the mainframe computer market, a new breed of smaller, more affordable computers was emerging. The Altair 8800, released in 1975, was one of the first commercially successful microcomputers. But there was a problem. It had no software. Bill Gates and Paul Allen saw this gap as an opportunity. They developed a version of the basic programming language for the Altair, creating Microsoft's first product. This wasn't just software. It was the beginning of an industry. Before Microsoft, most computer companies focused on hardware, treating software as an afterthought or giving it away for free. Gates and Allen believed software had value as a standalone product. Their early years were marked by hustle and determination. Working out of a small office above a computer store, the young founders personally wrote code, negotiated contracts, and built relationships with emerging computer manufacturers. They licensed their basic interpreter to companies like Commodore, Apple, and Tandy Radio Shack, establishing a business model that would become the foundation of the software industry. By 1980, Microsoft had grown to 40 employees and revenues of $8 million. But their biggest break was yet to come. When IBM decided to enter the personal computer market, they needed an operating system quickly. Through a series of negotiations and strategic decisions, Microsoft secured the contract to provide the operating system for IBM's new personal computer. Here's where Gates made a brilliant strategic move. Instead of selling IBM the operating system outright, Microsoft retained the rights to license it to other computer manufacturers. This decision would prove to be one of the shrewdest business moves in technology history. MS-DOS, the operating system Microsoft developed for IBM, became the foundation of the personal computer revolution. As other manufacturers began creating IBM-compatible computers, they needed MS-DOS to run the same software. Microsoft found itself controlling the standard operating system for an entire industry. But Gates and his team weren't content to rest on their success. They could see the future, and it looked like the graphical user interfaces being pioneered by companies like Xerox and Apple. While MS-DOS required users to type commands, the future would be about pointing and clicking. On November 20th, 1985, Microsoft launched Windows 1.0. The reception was lukewarm. Critics called it slow and unnecessary, but Microsoft persisted, continually improving the product. Windows 2.0 added overlapping windows and keyboard shortcuts. Windows 3.0, released in 1990, was the breakthrough that made graphical computing mainstream for PC users. During this period, Microsoft also expanded beyond operating systems. They developed Microsoft Office, a suite of productivity applications, including Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. The strategy was brilliant. Create software that worked best on Windows, giving people more reasons to choose Microsoft's operating system. The company went public in 1986, and the stock price soared. Suddenly, Microsoft wasn't just a successful software company. It was creating millionaires among its employees and making Gates one of the world's youngest billionaires. The release of Windows 95 marked Microsoft's transition from a technology company to a cultural phenomenon. The launch event was a spectacle, complete with the Rolling Stones' "Start Me Up" as the theme song. Lines formed at computer stores as people waited to buy the new operating system. Windows 95 introduced features we now take for granted: the Start button, the taskbar, and plug-and-play hardware installation. More importantly, it included built-in networking capabilities and internet support, recognizing that computing was becoming connected. But Microsoft's dominance also attracted scrutiny. The late 1990s brought antitrust investigations as competitors and regulators questioned whether Microsoft was using its operating system monopoly to stifle competition. The company was accused of bundling Internet Explorer with Windows to undermine Netscape's web browser. Meanwhile, Microsoft was expanding aggressively. They launched Xbox to compete with Sony and Nintendo in gaming. They developed Windows Server for businesses. They created development tools and databases. By 2000, Microsoft was the world's most valuable company by market capitalization. However, the technology technology landscape was shifting. The rise of the internet meant that applications could run in web browsers, potentially making the operating system less important. Google was proving that web-based services could be incredibly powerful. Apple was about to launch the iPhone, ushering in the mobile computing era. Steve Ballmer, who became COO in 2000, focused on expanding Microsoft's enterprise business while defending the Windows franchise. But some critics argued that Microsoft was becoming too focused on protecting existing revenue streams rather than innovating for the future. The launch of the iPhone in 2007 caught Microsoft, along with most of the technology industry, off guard. While Microsoft had been developing mobile versions of Windows for years, they were designed for business users with keyboards and styluses. Apple's touch-first approach was revolutionary. Microsoft's response was Windows Phone, launched in 2010. Despite positive reviews for its innovative interface design, it failed to gain significant market share. The mobile revolution was dominated by Apple's iOS and Google's Android, leaving Microsoft on the sidelines of the most important computing platform shift in decades. This period also saw the rise of cloud computing. Amazon Web Services, launched in 2006, was making it possible for companies to rent computing power instead of buying servers. Google was offering email, documents, and other services through web browsers. These trends threatened Microsoft's traditional business model of selling software licenses. Under Ballmer's leadership, Microsoft launched several initiatives to address these challenges. They introduced Office 365, a cloud-based version of their productivity suite. They developed Azure, their cloud computing platform. They acquired Skype for $8.5 billion, recognizing the importance of communication services. But the company was still struggling with the transition. Windows 8, released in 2012, was designed to work on both traditional computers and tablets, but satisfied neither market. The Surface tablet line showed promise, but faced strong competition from Apple's iPad. In February 2014, Microsoft made a surprising choice for their new CEO. Instead of selecting an external candidate or someone from the Windows division, they promoted Satya Nadella, who had been running their cloud and enterprise services business. This decision would prove transformational. Nadella brought a fundamentally different philosophy to Microsoft. Instead of trying to force users onto Microsoft platforms, he embraced a mobile-first, cloud-first strategy. This meant making Microsoft's services available on all devices and platforms, even those from competitors. The changes were dramatic and swift. Microsoft Office became available on iPads and Android tablets. The company open-sourced key technologies and began contributing to Linux, the open-source operating system they had once dismissed. They partnered with companies they had traditionally competed against. But the most significant transformation was Microsoft's pivot to cloud computing and data services. Azure, which had been a secondary business, became a central focus. The company began building data centers around the world at an unprecedented pace, investing billions of dollars in infrastructure. This strategy was driven by a fundamental shift in how businesses use technology. Instead of buying software to run on their own servers, companies increasingly wanted to rent computing power and software as services. They wanted to store data in the cloud, run artificial intelligence algorithms, and scale their computing resources up or down as needed. Today, Microsoft operates one of the world's largest and most sophisticated networks of data centers. These facilities, scattered across the globe, represent the physical infrastructure of the cloud computing revolution. Each data center is a marvel of engineering, containing thousands of servers, sophisticated cooling systems, and redundant power supplies. Microsoft's data centers are more than just storage facilities. They're computing engines that process enormous amounts of data, run artificial intelligence algorithms, and host the digital services that millions of businesses depend on. From small startups to Fortune 500 companies, organizations are moving their operations to Microsoft's cloud infrastructure. The scale is staggering. Microsoft has data center regions in more than 60 countries, with plans for continued expansion. Each facility is designed to be incredibly efficient, using advanced cooling techniques and renewable energy sources. The company has committed to being carbon negative by 2030, investing in technologies like underwater data centers and AI-optimized cooling systems. These data centers enable services that would have seemed like science fiction just a few years ago. Machine learning models that can understand and generate human language, computer vision systems that can analyze medical images, and predictive analytics that help businesses optimize their operations, all powered by the computational resources in Microsoft's cloud infrastructure. Microsoft's investment in data centers has positioned them perfectly for the artificial intelligence revolution. Their partnership with OpenAI, announced in 2019 and expanded multiple times since, has made them a leader in generative AI technology. The integration of AI capabilities into Microsoft's products, from Copilot in Office to AI-powered features in Azure, demonstrates how cloud infrastructure enables advanced technologies. The company's approach to AI reflects their broader transformation. Instead of trying to control the entire technology stack, they're providing the infrastructure and tools that enable others to build AI applications. Azure AI services allow developers to add machine learning capabilities to their applications without becoming AI experts themselves. This strategy extends beyond AI to data analytics, Internet of Things devices, and edge computing. Microsoft is building a comprehensive platform that helps organizations collect, store, analyze, and act on data. Their data centers aren't just hosting websites and email. They're powering the digital transformation of entire industries. Healthcare organizations use Microsoft's cloud services to analyze genomic data and accelerate drug discovery. Manufacturing companies connect their factories to Azure to optimize production and predict equipment failures. Financial institutions use Microsoft's AI services to detect fraud and automate customer service. As we look toward the future, Microsoft's transformation from a software company to a cloud and data services provider appears to be paying off. Azure is the second largest cloud platform in the world, behind only Amazon Web Services. Microsoft 365 has more than 400 million subscribers. The company's market capitalization has soared, making it one of the most valuable companies in the world. But the technology landscape continues to evolve rapidly. New challenges and opportunities emerge constantly. Quantum computing promises to solve problems that are impossible with traditional computers. Edge computing is bringing data processing closer to where data is generated. Sustainability concerns are driving innovations in data center design and renewable energy. Microsoft's response to these challenges reflects the lessons learned from their nearly 50-year history. They're investing heavily in research and development, building partnerships with other technology companies, and maintaining their focus on empowering customers rather than locking them into proprietary systems. The company that began by democratizing computing power through personal computers is now democratizing access to artificial intelligence and advanced data analytics through cloud services. They're making it possible for a small startup to access the same computing resources as a multinational corporation, leveling the playing field in ways that would have been impossible in the era of expensive on-premises software and hardware. The story of Microsoft is ultimately a story about adaptation and reinvention. From their early days, writing basic interpreters for microcomputers, to building a global network of AI-powered data centers, the company has repeatedly transformed itself to meet the changing needs of technology users. Their journey from a small software company to a cloud computing giant illustrates how successful technology companies must constantly evolve. The skills that made Microsoft successful in the 1980s, understanding software, building platforms, and creating developer ecosystems, remain important today, but they've been applied to entirely new problems and opportunities. As we move into an era where data is often called the new oil and artificial intelligence promises to augment human capabilities in unprecedented ways, Microsoft's infrastructure and services will likely play an increasingly important role in how we work, learn, and solve complex problems. The company that once asked, "Where do you want to go today?" is now helping to build the digital infrastructure that will take us there. From the garage in Albuquerque to data centers spanning the globe, Microsoft's transformation reflects the broader evolution of computing itself, from personal tools to collaborative platforms to intelligent services that can amplify human potential. The next chapter of Microsoft's story is still being written, but one thing seems certain: it will be as transformative as the chapters that came before.